As a doctor or nurse, have you ever encountered a patient who was too gross to touch? I used to be a paramedic when I was in my 20s in Santa Monica, California, where there is a large homeless population. We would get 911 calls nearly every day to treat homeless people for one thing or another, since this was their only form of medical care. Most homeless patients smelled because of poor hygiene, but I will never forget the grossest call I ever had. One day we got a call to a homeless man in a wheelchair. He was on the outdoor promenade where a lot of people walk and shop, and someone had called 911 because he was behaving strangely. He had no shirt on and his head was kind of hanging down like he was out of it. Right when we approached him, we could start to smell something bad, but it seemed like it was going to be a normal call otherwise. We assessed him, and while his vitals seemed fine, we decided to transport him to the hospital for further evaluation. So we helped him stand up out of his wheelchair so we could transport him on our gurney, and that's when we saw it. His entire back and butt were covered in maggots. The smell was instantly repulsive, and we couldn't help but gag and nearly vomit. Turns out he had been defecating in his pants while in his wheelchair and was unable to clean himself, so he sat in it until maggots formed, which were literally eating his rotting flesh. As soon as we stood him up, sheets of maggots fell from his body, and we had to use bottles of saline water that we had in our gear bag to wash off the rest. Our ambulance was about half a block away since this was on a pedestrian-only promenade. The smell of feces and rotting flesh punched us right in the nose. It was like nothing I've ever smelled before, and I've seen a lot of dead bodies in this profession. We put him on the gurney, which had a sheet on top of a vinyl-covered padding, and took him to the ER. When we wheeled him through the ambulance entrance in the ER, the smell instantly ripped through the entire emergency department, and every nurse and doctor had to put on their N95 face masks to try to combat the stench. Needless to say, they were not happy with us. When we returned to our ambulance to clean up after finding him a bed in the hospital, we scrubbed the hell out of that 4-inch thick, vinyl-covered gurney pad with our strongest disinfectant, but nothing could get the smell out. We even left it outside all night hoping it would air out, but to no avail. The next day, we had to throw away the pad and just get a new one. Nothing was as gross as seeing and smelling that. I don't know what ended up happening to that poor man, but the doctors and nurses in Santa Monica are excellent. And I'm confident they took care of him and got him the help he needed.